Hello and welcome to this companion video called Reading the Sky, which is designed to go along with the Friday Soaring Club's training session on thermaling and thermal techniques. So just while we start to take off and get into the air, let me just tell you that Reading the Sky actually begins on the ground. You need to have a plan, you need to know where you're going. An average winch launch at my club is about 1,500 feet, which gives me about 4 minutes of flying time to find a thermal, get established, get some height and get away. So have a look around you before you launch. Have a look at the clouds, see which ones are going to be working. The ones we're going to be aiming for are those nice dark ones ahead. In any sky, you're going to see 3 different types of clouds. You're going to see nice, well-formed ones that are working strongly and providing a lot of lift. There'll be some very big and very black clouds which are probably decaying, and by the time you get there they won't be working anymore. And there are going to be some nice white small fluffy ones that are just forming, and if you're far enough away, hopefully by the time you get there they'll have converted into nice strong thermals which you'll be able to use. Your task as a glider pilot is to suss out which clouds are which and then make the most of what you see in order to gain height and go off cross country. And if you look at the instrument panel to the top right of the cockpit next to the nav panel, you'll see that we're already in the lift and I'm starting to turn. Just a note about the 2 types of varios we use in a glider. The one below that is called a netto vario, and that tells you what the air is doing. The one at the top tells you what you are doing, having taken into consideration the weight of the aircraft and the polar curve, etc., etc. So, although the netto vario normally reads higher than the top vario, simply because that's just what the air is doing and doesn't take into account the weight of the aircraft. So what we're looking for is a nice, strong indication of lift on that top vario. When we're flying straight and level, you'll probably find that the bottom vario is reading neither up nor down. It should be in the middle, which is indicating stillish air. And the top one will be reading a negative number because we'll be going down. There's no lift, so we're sinking. At the moment, we're going up. So we're established in a thermal. And I'm just going to let the video run for a little while now while we gain some height, and then we'll go off and do a bit of exploration. Okay, so now we're coming out of the thermal. We're going out into blue air in a minute. You'll probably see the varios go down to become slightly negative. We're going to the top of the dams simply because it's a nice place to go. So the things to watch out for here is know where your bailout cloud is. If we hit some horrendous sink and suddenly start to lose a lot of height, then we have to make a decision. Do we carry on track or do we get over to a cloud, find some lift, regain some height, and then continue our journey? And this is really what thermaling is all about. It's not about following the line on the sat-nav. It's about following the energy that you see and read in the sky. So as you can see, we're out in blue now. So we're going to start seeing the varios will at least go to nothing. It'll probably start to descend a little bit. But we have a nice cloud to our right there that we can bail out to if we need to. The dams that we're visiting are quite famous in history. It's Lady Bow Reservoir. And up to one of the tributaries, the Derwent and Howden dams, which were used as practice runs in World War II for the dam busters before they went over to conduct the dam buster raids on the German dams. So you can see the Vario now is going down. We're losing about 50 to 100 feet per minute, which is fine because we've got plenty of height in that thermal. So we need to make a decision now. If we find some lift, we can probably just ignore it and carry on because we've plenty of height. We don't need to worry about it at this stage, although we will do later on in the flight. So still out in the blue, still going down. Netto Vario in the bottom right is showing 0 lift right in the middle. What we would expect, we may get a little tickle of lift off the ridges, but it's not likely to be much. So we've been to the top of the dams. We're back down at the bottom near the reservoir now, Ladybar Reservoir. We need to plot our course for the next leg of the exercise. And you can we've still got a really nice sky here. We're actually going to go down and do a bit of sightseeing on the training exercises. So we're going to be looking at Chatsworth House, which is a well-known stately home owned by the Duke of Devonshire. And then we'll go on to Matlock, Bath, and then from there we'll go over to Cartington Water. So the sky's looking really good. What we need to do is just keep looking at these clouds, looking for the clouds that we need, ignoring the small fluffy white ones, as we've said. Probably not bothering to go to the very big dark black ones because they might be dead by the time we get there. And just maintain a height of between 3.5 and 5,000 feet should be enough for today. So if you need a thermal, grab one. And if you don't, then there are other ways that you can reduce the need to use encircling thermals. One of those is if you see a few clouds grouped together, you might actually want to get under them to take advantage of the lift, but not necessarily circling them to gain height. If you've got 4,000 feet, there's no point in getting much higher. But also, by using the thermals, you can fly in a straight line and taking a little bit of lift, maybe half up or something like that, use what's there to just maintain that 4,000 feet. And you can do all of that without doing a single turn under a thermal. If you get down to about 2,000 feet, then you really got to start circling in the thermal and regain height to about 4,000. We'll talk more about that on the night. And just while we put a final turn in before we set off for Chatsworth House, let me just tell you that I'm flying an LS4 today, which is a free aircraft available on flightsim.to. I'll put a link in with the notes for the evening's flying. Pardon me. The LS4 is the closest I could get to a club glider. I normally fly a Pukat's 2-seater, which has got a glide ratio of 36:1. There is an ASK-21 out and about somewhere, which has got a similar glide ratio. This LS4 has a glide ratio of 40:1, which in lay terms mean for every 1,000 feet of height you've got, you can travel forward in a straight line about 6.5 miles or nautical miles. It's about 12 kilometers. So you can see with a height of 4,000 feet, you're going to be able to travel about 24 miles before you have to think about finding a field and landing in it, which is a pretty good distance. Certainly, there's not that much of a gap between the clouds tonight, so you shall have no difficulty at all in contacting your next thermal. The night is, after all, dedicated to thermal training and techniques rather than putting you under a high workload and heavy pressure. And if you're watching this just because you recently subscribed or previously subscribed to my YouTube channel and you want to practice this for yourself, if you go to the GotGravel Discord and go to the Friday Soaring Club events channel, you'll find the weather file that I've used to create the video and the one that we will be using on the particular night. Feel free to download it, feel free to use it. It's all about training new would-be potential glider pilots. It's not copyright protected, so yeah, give it a whiz. Let me know what you think in the descriptions below. And of course, my objective, as always, is to try and convince as many people as possible to actually go to a real gliding club on a real airfield and try all of this great stuff out for yourselves, because it is the best, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the best pastime you can possibly have. Bags of fresh air, lots of skill involved, and it's great to be up in the air on a beautiful day, flying like a bird. No fuel, no energy required, just you and nature, man and machine in harmony. And as I've said before, although we could be out of the blue right now, I'm actually flying under effectively a street of clouds. I'm taking the lift where I can, where there is some, and I'm totally ignoring the thermaling, the circling, because I've got the height, I don't need it. I just need to push on and get a good speed up and get to Chatsworth House. So I'm just going to let the video run for a while. Some things to watch out for, which we'll get to in the training session. You're not always guaranteed to, when you're hunting around for a thermal, you're not always guaranteed to hit it dead center every time. Occasionally when you're flying around, you may suddenly see a wing tip up, and that's because you've hit the thermal kind of side on. One wing will be in strong lift and the other wing will be in weak lift or even sink. So when that happens, you've got to make sure that the thermal doesn't spit you out. If you don't do anything, if you don't respond to the wingtip, then all that's going to happen is you're going to turn in the opposite direction and fly away from the thermal. That's what we mean by the thermal spitting you out. So if you sense that the wing tips, let's assume that the left wing tips upwards. That means your left wing is in strong lift, and that's showing you where the thermal core is. So in that situation, bank the aircraft to the lift into the tipping wing. That way you will find the thermal and then you begin to turn. The other thing is that in the first turn, you may find that part of the time you're in strong lift, another part of the time you are in either weak lift or in sink. And that's simply because after that first turn, you are not fully centered in the core of the thermal. So the way to deal with that is to wait till you come round again and you encounter the strong lift, straighten up, wait 4 seconds, and then turn again, and assess the lift in that next turn. So you'll probably find in the second turn that you are in strong lift, then you might be slightly weaker lift. Hopefully you won't be in any sink, but there'll be the weaker lift won't be as weak as it was the first time around. So just repeat the exercise. When the strong lift comes, straighten up, wait another 4 seconds, turn again, and eventually you will have centered in the thermal. And what you're aiming for is a consistent speed all the way around the whole 360-degree turn. Once you've achieved that, then that's absolutely fine. You are centered in the thermal. The other thing you should be aiming to do when thermaling is to achieve a consistent speed all the way around the circle. When you start to bank an aircraft, the tendency is for the nose to drop because a wing will generate a fixed amount of lift. When you're flying straight on a level, all that lift is used to hold the aircraft in its steady state. When you start to turn, some of that lift is used to actually turn the aircraft, while the rest of the lift is used to hold the nose up. So obviously when you start to turn, the nose will drop and the aircraft will try to speed up. So the technique is then just to apply a small amount of back pressure on the stick to hold the nose up. What you're effectively doing is you're telling the wings you need to generate more lift, and you do that by raising the angle of attack. As you generate more lift, then the nose will come back up and hopefully it will steady out. To save yourself a lot of grief when you're thermaling, the best thing to do is to try and trim the aircraft out as you're turning. Trim the aircraft for a chosen speed. The LS4 I normally thermal around 55 to 60 knots, and that way you can not worry about the nose dropping. You can concentrate on looking around, finding out where your next thermal is close to the track that you want to make, and it just generally takes the pressure off. So constant speed, try and adjust the circle that you're in to make sure you've got a constant rate of lift. So constant speed, constant rate of lift, that's your perfect thermal. That's what we'll be practicing on Friday night. So I'm going to shut up now. If you want to scrub through some of the video, feel free to do so. When we are on the way back and we get to Chatsworth House, I'm actually going to be diving down, pulling the brakes to maintain a constant speed, make sure I don't go into the red, and I'm going to have a look at Chatsworth House in close-up. I don't expect you to do this on the night, although if you want to have a try, be my guest. But once we've passed Chatsworth House, I'll be pulling up fairly sharply because there will be a thermal to my right that I know I can probably get some lift in order to get back to the airfield. As I say, not compulsory. It's just me. I'm not showing off. I just want to show the qualities of the 3D modelling of some of the area around my home club. So yeah, enjoy. Scrub to it if you want. Otherwise, feel free to shut the video down anytime you want, anytime from now, because I've said what I need to say, and I'll see you all on Friday night.